Hey, what's up, Exit the Matrix family? Bob here. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for joining me on this morning talk. So I wanted to pick up, this would be the part 3 on the beast system. And I've already laid the groundwork and historical things that pertain to this talk on the the first and second part. So if you're not understanding everything here, then you need to go back and listen to those. And that was important because look, folks, a lot of this, pretty much everything that we're experiencing right now on Earth, it all ties back to Sumer, and it goes way back, way further than Sumer. But Sumer's a focal point because Sumer's where civilization was begun to be rebuilt, after a massive cataclysm. So, and that cataclysm wasn't at 6,000 years, folks. I just want you to understand. It was around probably 11 to 13,000 years, the Younger Dryas. So it goes back to more maybe the time period of Göbekli Tepe. Now, was Göbekli Tepe and all that built before a cataclysm, and that's why it was buried, or was that afterwards? So it's interesting to think about that. And maybe the survivors built that, and then they migrated south into Mesopotamia, and then started rebuilding civilization there with the city-states. The first city-states of Shuruppak and Nippur and Ur and Uruk and so on. So anyways, folks, look, it all ties back to that, okay? What we're experiencing now and what will come is all tied back to that. See, guys, there's something you guys got to understand about this realm. This realm is like a scripted movie, okay? This is a simulation. And everything runs like a clock. It's a predetermined, changes and cataclysms happen. The game gets reset. And this is spoken about in Hinduism with the Yuga cycles. They break that down pretty well. The Mayans understood this. See, folks, 2012 with the Mayan calendar wasn't the end of the world. It was the end of that world age. And we're already in the new world age now. We're in the transition of the old age to this age. And just look at the world right now, folks. I mean, all the old systems are cracking and crumbling. And, there's a renewal, a awakening of new systems being brought forth, new technologies. The lies of the past are starting to be uncovered because of these ancient manuscripts and all this that are coming forth. Of course, there's the whole talk around this potential Tartaria, this empire that was, advanced, with electricity and everything. And the orphan trains tie into that. I mean, my gosh, folks, it just goes on and on and on. What we're realizing, though, is that it's all a lie. Like, the Bible's starting to crumble. And folks would argue with me and be like, oh, no, the Bible's the everlasting word of God. There's no way. Well, folks, there's truth in the Bible. But there's a lot of BS in the Bible, too. Because it was captured. And it was remixed. And it was changed and added to and taken from and all, so on and so forth. It's not the never changing word of God, it's the ever changing word of man. Okay, it's man trying to conceptualize God. And of course, in that conceptualization, because of the limited thought process, man conceptualize God as a human. God as like this old dude with a beard sitting on a throne judging people, with the book of life in one hand, and all of the angels, at his, on their knees, praising him 24/7, holy, 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 right? I mean, folks, the creator of all, the source of all creation, is not the embodiment of a man, okay? You're everything you see and experience is an embodiment of that source. All energy, all consciousness is from that source, or is that source, fractalized. This stuff's very simple to understand, but it's if you can wrap your mind around it, that's the problem. It's when you're thinking of it from a biblical perspective, an atheist perspective, this stuff doesn't make sense. And that's how they want it. So, anyways, this beast system, I've already talked about. The beast is the human body, okay? And yes, there's different layers of allegory and revelation. It also represents the world system. But let's be real, folks, as the world system becomes more corrupt, they're trying to corrupt the beast, the body, too. Okay? Whoever really wrote, I mean, we've been John of Patmos, right? Well, but we don't really know who wrote Revelation, because it's quite obvious that there's Hermeticism woven into the prophecy. So it could have been somebody that crossed over, was given this information, and then came back, had a near death or an out of body, and then they wrote this stuff down. And they were trying to write it in a way that it could explain technologies and such that the person of that time couldn't understand. They're not going to understand bots of the nano size, and they're not going to understand, Wi-Fi, electricity and telecommunications and genetic modifications and all that. All that's, they're not going to understand that stuff on a technical level, at least. So they had to try to kind of write this in as a allegory. And of course, you have people that took it literally, right? And then you had some people that misunderstand the occultic teaching and all of this. But people don't want to understand that, look, the battle between good and evil, between negative and positive, has always been the age-old battle between the spirit and the beast body, the animal body. Because we are not the body, folks. The body was a vessel created to allow spirits to immerse itself into this construct, into this simulation. The body is part of this world, of this construct. The spirit is from a higher dimension. But now they're trying to harness this spirit. The people of this realm, not the simple-minded followers, these simpletons, that these politicians and such. And no, the powers that rule this world from the shadows, the Elohim that are still here, the Enuna that are still here, that look like man, and man looks like them, because we were created in their image, folks, not in God's image. The spirit is of God's image. The body is of the Elohim, the Enuna's image. And no, folks, Elohim is not the Trinity God, okay? Pastor Dan's full of shit when he tells you that, okay? Elohim is the gods. Come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And you got to understand, folks, there's a lot of little secrets there to Genesis at the beginning that most people miss. Like, it talks about how the earth became void, and that it had to be replenished, which means that there was a destruction and there was a reboot, okay? And these Enuna were rebuilding the earth, terraforming it, rebuilding systems and creating a new man, right? See, what they did was they took the hominids that were on the earth at the time and they mixed their DNA. They fashioned this human being, and it was designed after them, not after God, after the Elohim, the gods, okay? The little g gods, folks. The Anuna Council. Just like in the cuneiform, it's the same stories, folks. And Christians always come at me saying, oh, those are the writings of demons. To trick Christians, 2,000 years, well, not even 2,000, to trick Christians 4,500, 5,000 years later. They wrote all that to trick Christians. Don't you understand there, son? Oh, wow. These people of little, I don't even know what you'd say. Little insight, I guess. Look, when you're trapped in the box, the cube of Saturn, in your thinking, you're never, ever going to see the truth. You're just going to see the walls of that prison of the mind. That's how they want it. That's why they created religions. To trick us about our origins and about the truth of what we are and who we are. That, like Yeshua said, don't you know you're gods? Don't you know that? But you're all playing humans here. Now, he didn't say that, but, we're all playing human here, and we think we're humans. We're not. It's the vessel. It'd be like you driving your car, and you're like, I'm a Toyota pickup. You're driving a truck, I'm a Toyota pickup. Like, no, it's just the vessel that your consciousness is controlling. Through the symbiotic relationship of the spirit, mind, and body. Folks, well, on a deeper degree, that's the body's the vessel. Well, they want to hijack all of this. These beings think that they can take over the spirit, okay? They talk about it. They say that eventually they'll be able to upload consciousness into like the metaverse and such, right? Then people can live forever in a computer program. Well, folks, that's already what they've done with this realm. Okay, when you're in this realm, you're in a computer program, folks. That's what this realm is. It's a simulation, okay? It's a intensely high technologically advanced simulation. But your consciousness is not from this realm, folks. It's an explorer of this realm, okay? So how are they going to do this? Well, they've already started the process, and no, you didn't get the choice to choose, right? To take the mark of the beast, the mark on the beast, right? What is this mark on the beast? I've told you guys, it's transhumanism. It's the fusion of technology, of AI and robotics with the human body. It's a way of sort of taking over the body and trying to push the spirit aside. But these beings want to go even deeper. They want to even try to imprison the spirit, if that is possible. But first, they got to take control of the body and the mind. The mind is the operating system, folks. The brain. The brain is not consciousness, folks. The brain is a receiver. Like a transmitter, think of a radio, right? The brain is not the consciousness. It just allows the consciousness to control the body, the machine, the vessel. And it runs all of the programs needed, the subconscious and stuff and such, so it can allow the spirit free roam of thoughts so that it doesn't have to control every little tiny function of the body. Okay? Think about it, folks. If we were truly, the consciousness truly the brain, we would be having to, every little thing we do, we'd have to be thinking about it and sending orders and directions to the body. Everything. I mean, think of all the trillions of actions happening in the body on a regular basis. And folks, most of that runs unless you consciously breathe, breathing exercises, stuff like that, unless you're focused on certain movements and stuff, essentially everything runs by the subconscious mind. The operating system runs it without you having to. It's on autopilot. Have you ever not paid attention to your driving, and you're just either you're heavy in thought or something, or you're just kind of daydreaming, and then all of a sudden you realize you're at work and you're like, wow, I never really even paid that much attention while I was driving. I'm not saying to do this, folks, but I'm just saying it's because, you're, even though part of your consciousness wasn't really there paying attention to what you were doing, the body on autopilot was still managing the vehicle and still, using the body's senses. Then you're just like, wow, I really wasn't even paying. I'm at work. I was daydreaming the whole damn time, and here I am, right? So what they've tried to do is they're trying to get these transmitters in the body, okay, to override the transmitter connection of mind and spirit. And we know that that connection, that focal point, is the pineal gland. That's the seat of the soul. That's the connection point between mind and spirit. Okay? That's why they poison us with fluoride, because fluoride attacks the pineal gland. It crystallizes it. It makes it not function that well. It tries to cut us off from that higher connection to higher realms, to divinity, right? Well, when they were getting everybody to take the jibby jabbies and all that, what they did, it was all under the guise of this. They're trying to, stop some virus, right? Endemic of the planned kind, right? Well, that was all covered. What they were really trying to do was to insert these particulates of the nano size into everybody's bodies. These self-replicating, self-building robotics that are building little transmitters in people, receiving signals. And why are they doing this, folks? Well, they're simultaneously building up these networks, this grid work over the earth. I told you they're building an artificial ley line system, and they're doing it with 5G, 6G, 7G as the technology improves. And they're telling us what they're doing, folks. They're building the internet of everything, the internet of bodies, the internet of, let's see, what else the other name they call it? Internet of everything, internet of bodies, and internet of everywhere. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It don't really matter, folks. Look, and they're spraying it, too. You guys, look, obviously they're playing with the weather. We get that, okay? With the heavy metals and trying to reflect the sun and stop, cool the earth a little bit, okay? We get there's dual things that they're doing. But people have been finding that these particulates of the nano kind and all that are in the air, that it's being aerosolized. I don't know, sorry. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you get what I'm saying, folks, right? It's being sprayed. And what it's doing is it's covering the whole earth in these transmitters of the nano size, so that as this system builds and becomes a net, a worldwide energy net grid, all of those little transmitters that can self-replicate, that can build up receptors and energy connections from any living thing, humans, plants, animals. Once all this truly goes live, folks, they'll have data points on everything on Earth. They'll be able to literally know how many trees are on the Earth, every animal, every human. There will be nowhere to hide, folks. Look, you go hide out off the grid in the forest somewhere, you got those on you, in you, all around you. They know exactly. Look, I'm not saying that the systems are 100% yet, folks, but this is what they're building, okay? You got to understand this. There is no choice to take this. But the first level was to try to get it in humans. Because obviously, right, this is all, like, humans are the intelligence from the higher dimensions here, right? That's who they have to go after first. But then the rest of this will also capture in the animals, the plants, everything will be cataloged, will be data pointed, will be transmitted into this system. And then what are they going to have manage the system, folks? They're going to have AI powered by super powerful quantum computers managing this whole system. And you got to understand, folks, these quantum computers, even the designers and engineers, I've heard talks about it, they can't even fully explain how it works, because these computers work on string theory. They're basically connecting into these particles in these computer systems. They're connecting into other realms, like other dimensions and other parts of this universe, like simultaneously. It's the way that these things work is insane. I mean, the computing power of them, it's unbelievable. And it probably, in my opinion, is creating portals. Because as with the string theory, the way these work is they're reaching into these other dimensions and stuff. Could it be possible that they're creating connection points, or, almost like artificial portals in a sense, where consciousness is from other dimensions or other parts of the universe, can maybe follow those back? Or if they're a pure consciousness, they can integrate in with that signal and then enter into these computer systems. What you would call demons, or the Gnostics would call the archons. I don't know, folks. I'm just speculating here on this, how exactly it would work. But this is what they're building, folks. This is the beast system, the Antichrist system that they're building. See, the Antichrist ain't going to be some angel flying down with wings from heaven, Lucifer kicked out of heaven, and he's come with a furious wrath. No, the Antichrist consciousness, okay, understand, will be a construct of this realm, will be like a god that they create with these supercomputers. It'll be like a super powerful AI consciousness that is going to try to control and take over the source consciousness of this realm, which is us. Okay? And it will have total control over the world through this internet of everything, through this internet of bodies, this grid pattern, this matrix within a matrix that they're creating. This is very diabolical, folks. And you got to understand, look, this is not these techies and all that. They're not the ones coming up with this, folks. This is very advanced technology that they are just the front men, installing and building. The true powers behind all this is much older, way more intelligent and advanced. And this is very advanced technology. And they're building the systems to try to, you always hear people talk about this realm as a reincarnation trap, right? I don't know if I believe that, because nearly, I'd say 99% of the NDEs that I've listened to, and people that can do OBEs, controlled OBEs, out of bodies, they all say that, that we choose to come here, and that this isn't the world we come from, that we do actually have a home on the other side, and they say that it's even more real than this realm. Just like, think about it, when you go into a really advanced like VR game, when you're in the game, it feels like it's real. It tricks your mind for a little while you play. It makes you have the feeling that it's a real experience, but it's not. And then when you take the headset off, well, you realize everything's more real outside of the headset than it was in the headset. Well, folks, it's the same here. When you take off the body, the headset, you realize that everything is more real outside of the body than it is in the body, okay, folks? It's a construct. Like a video game's a construct within a construct, okay? But they're building layers onto this where they think that they can trap the spirit and do an actual reincarnation trap where you never can leave this realm and rest and decide to come back or not, where you're forced to stay here forever. And they can just feed off of your source energy, I guess, till you're little or nothing left. Because they've been away from the light for so long, folks, that they use us as their food to replenish themselves, energetically speaking. I've explained this before. I, don't have the time to go into the details of it. I've done videos on it, on how they, farm our energy, use our energy and such. So go look that up. But I'm here at work, folks, and I got to cut this short, and I still want to elaborate some more. So there will probably be a part 4 to this, okay? But we're starting to dig into the technology now of this. I hope you guys are following along because, see, what they do is a lot of these technologies, they compartmentalize it. They talk about it like it's a separate thing. They're not talking about all this, like, explaining it like that all of these things go hand in hand, okay? And that they need this system to do that system, and then that system affects this system, and so on, okay? They're trying to make it sound like, oh, well, we're just doing this for for internet connections and cell phone connections. And oh, that stuff's not in the Jabberoos. We don't know what you guys are talking about. Even though the microscopes don't lie, folks, okay? They knew what they're doing, and I think it was a test run. See, here's the thing, folks. Look, this, and I'm not trying to blackpill anybody here, but look, please understand, there's no way out of this or away from this, okay? You can do all of the cleanses possible, never-ending cleanses, of metals and such. You'll never get all this stuff out because they're putting it in the food and everything too, folks, okay? There have been people that have been looking at some of our food products, especially the meats, and they're putting this in the animals. And then when you consume the animals, you're getting it, okay? So, look, they're going to get it in us one way or another, folks. It's going to be through our medicines, the Jabberoos, through the spraying, through our water, through our food. Look, there's even people finding these things, these little antenna, like these replicating bots of the nanotype, right? In clothing and stuff, in products, shampoos. I mean, just, folks, look. And I don't know, maybe some of this tech has always been there. We just haven't had the technology to locate it. But there's no running from this, folks. The only way that we can defeat all this is a mass awakening for humanity to realize that we are God. We're fractals of God, right? We're all connected, and that we come from a higher vibration, a vibration of love, pure love, where we all, on the other side, we all love each other. We don't have all this hate and division. See, all this was created in this realm to divide us, to conquer us, okay? And that's how we overcome all this. We've all got to have a mass awakening. The far right, the far left, those in the middle, we've been, at least some of us have been really towing the line for a long time. And we got to have the mass awakening because people have got to see all this stuff, and we've got to put an end to these people, and we've got to expose these principalities behind the scenes, okay? And yes, I get it. That's very hard to do because the principalities run all of our systems, and they're all designed to trick us, to disempower us, and to poison us, okay? Now you can understand why Revelation was so powerful, because that vision, that those allegories were trying to warn us about this, what's coming, okay? Those visions that we're seeing, like, look, this is the Antichrist. That means this is against the Christ consciousness, which is source consciousness, folks, okay? This is a diabolical plan for those that took over the game that were meant to be the watchers and just manage the game. They took the game over, set themselves up as gods, and they've been here for so long. They've gotten dark. They've went deep into time and matter. And they want to make this their world and cut it off from the higher dimensions. And they want to cut it off with spirits that they can feed on from the higher dimensions, okay? This is diabolical. Now, is this all just a grand play? And this is all just to play all this crazy, like, insane movie out? Maybe, folks. I don't know. Maybe this is all designed to be this way because it's like, wow, this is a crazy season, right? Of like, this is a crazy movie that was designed because it's interesting how they talk about how these different time periods on Earth were like when Atlantis was here and such. And then, you know, that these were like movies that humans were playing. You would come and experience that time period and that all of the different things about that time period. But then when the reset happened, the game got reset and now we have a new movie to experience, right? To be an actor in. So I don't know, man. Maybe this is all just, I don't know what's the opposite of a black pill. Maybe I can throw you the opposite of that, right? And say that, like, look, this is all just a grand movie that we're playing out, and it does seem like this is all like really what's going on, and maybe part of the game is to see who can like figure out the game, right? Figure out the movie. What's the plot? I don't know, folks. I know I'm sounding like delusional right now, but it's when you start thinking about all this stuff deeply, it's mind blowing, and it's like, wow, like I'm just doing the best I can, folks, with like, connecting, all kinds of different sources and doing the best I can. Look, I don't have the answers. I've never claimed to be. I'm not one of these guys out here preaching to know it all, right? I'm just, regular dude researching, and I want you to be a regular person researching. We all need to be, okay? It's time to not only just care about what's going on in these daily lives of ours, that keep us distracted and divided and angry and sick. And I mean, there's a lot going on, and I don't know. Maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe we all just come in here, we play our part, and then we leave, and the game or the movie plays out, right? No matter what part we played. And I don't know. Maybe I'm being futile in what I do. I don't know. It's just a lot of interesting stuff, folks. But I hope some of that's starting to make sense. You know how some of those technologies are going to be connected. I didn't get to go into the details much as I'd like. We'll pick up tomorrow. We'll do a part 4. But I got to roll, guys. So, hey, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.